good morning. My name is Emanuela, and I'm your counselor for today. Please tell me about yourself.
My name is Sebastian.
Sebastian.
My name is actually Shaden.
Shaden.
Yes, Shaden Sebastian Nkami.
Oh, wow. Lovely name.
Thank you very much. Lovely name too.
Thank you. Thank you. So, what is your addiction, and how did you come to Chosen or into the program?
My addiction was a lot of things. Crack cocaine and heroin inclusive, marijuana, pills, codeine, basically anything that could get me high.
Okay, okay. All right. When you came into the facility, how were you, and assess your progress so far? When you came into the facility, your state, your progress so far, what would you say about, your journey so far into recovery?
I would say I'm recovered.
You have recovered. Tell me about it. That's interesting.
Okay. So I've been taught a lot of churchy things about God and Bible and faith, and then I'm a big fan of the idea of faith. Believing in something that you don't see until it happens. It's something I can relate to. I'm an artist, a creative person. I live in my mind most of the time. Hence the addiction to things that affect my mind. So basically, the whole idea is that this makes it easier for me to go through the day believing that everything is okay, even if it's not. I really don't know anymore if it's okay or not. But then I at least believe it is. So that is what I'm going to be riding on for now.
Okay. So you mentioned a number of drugs. Where did you start from? How did it start? Not too much details, but where did you start from? How did the other ones come to, add on? Was it just because you were an artist, you were just experimenting on things,
My favorite person in the world was my father.
Okay.
I was my 10. I was 10 years old. And then ever since that, the world has been a very, very, very sad and boring place for me. So I believe in an attempt to make it more interesting, I was drawn to things that made me feel more interesting. So it started with weed. Yes, alcohol actually. I wasn't really a big fan of alcohol. It makes my head ache, and I like my head to not ache so I can think. So I believed weed would enhance my creativity in certain ways. And as an artist, that was something I was interested in exploring, so I experimented with weed. Then from there, I met some friends who were smoking cigarettes, and apparently that was okay with some places. So I'm not a person who is like afraid to try new things or to discover new things. So it made it very easy to be introduced to almost anything that would get me high. So from there, I met friends that smoked cigarettes. I started smoking cigarettes too. It became okay for me. Then eventually it included pills, because they're like the pills and the cigarettes seem to have some correspondence. They had an effect on each other. So I usually got pills and then smoked cigarettes with the pills and smoked weed with the cigarettes and the pills. All to attain some higher train of thought, I guess.
Okay.
Then eventually I met people who did cocaine. They were very interesting people. Back then I was doing work, I was a cinematographer too, directing videos and stuff. So I used to shoot music videos, and then a couple of the artists I was shooting for introduced me to a producer who was doing cocaine. I didn't know what was cocaine. It was some white thing. Smoked it once to try, and then it felt interesting, but it wasn't like very satisfying. It was more like the tip of the iceberg. So I felt like maybe getting more would make it more satisfying. And then getting more only seemed like another tip and another tip and another tip until I realized there was no iceberg. So eventually I was engrossed in every sort of drug that I came across, because everything was just a new way to stay afloat. Because sober meant thinking, feeling a lot of things that I was not interested in feeling. Didn't make me feel good. So I try my best to stay afloat, get high as much as possible. At least maybe if I can get high enough, I can stay above the water for some time. And when I get back down, it's only trying to get back up again.
So let's talk about sober now. You know, now that you are sober, how is your chain of thoughts now? Are you comfortable with, you know, how have you been able to deal with the things that you wanted to deal with now that you are sober or now that you are not high?
So far, I feel like I've only been able to deal with one thing, the addiction. Everything else is still a problem that remains unsolved. So, like I said before, I think the term depression, that was probably like the root cause of the whole addiction process and all that. And now I've been able to wind myself from the never-ending cycle of having to take drugs in order to feel okay as a human being to pass through the day. But now I'm thinking, so what now? Because like I disappointed a lot of people. There's a lot of people down, burnt a lot of bridges. A lot of people don't believe in me anymore. And then now, even here, I would have to face a whole new life, starting from scratch. With no friends from school and stuff, and like basically like connections that I used to have that I could say, okay, I've built years of relationship with these people, and I can count on them for things and support and all that. Now I have to start all over again. But then I believe it's a matter of a challenge that has been said before me, and then we would go to prove how great I am supposed to be and how I can become greater than I am already. So it's a scary challenge that I am still finding it hard to confront, but I am willing to open myself to some extent.
So let's look at it this way. You know, the whole thing is like a bundle or a complete set. So certain patterns in your life led you into a certain kind of addiction. So now that the addiction is not there, you must realize that if you don't deal with all the other issues that you have recognized that those other issues are still pending. Do you realize that the root cause of the issue is still there? So focus on your personal well-being for now. You yourself becoming whole for yourself. You know what others would think out there, the disappointment, the burnt bridges. There are so many things in life that we can't control. You understand it? Yes. So you need to give yourself room to live free beyond, you know, the things that held your mind back, or the fears of, you know, going to start afresh. Is an opportunity. Not everybody even gets the chance to be sitting here clean, looking fresh, fine gentleman. You know, I'm sure it's something that you couldn't have envisioned. So celebrate where you are now and trust that as you are going through the process. How long have you been in the process here?
This Saturday will make it 2 months.
2 months. So trust that as you go through the process, step by step, with all the other things that are put into the process for you to become whole again, you know, your recovery process would be complete. You know, once we get into recovery, you know, we are basically in it for life, you know. So you are recovering every day. You are learning something new every day. Something new is coming up for you to be able to deal with it.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, please do.
Are you familiar with the idea of stoicism?
No, tell me about it.
So it's a train of thought or belief system where they believe that you can't control 90% of the things that happen in this world, only 10%. 10% being the things that you think and the things that you do. So you can't control when it rains. So you can't control carrying an umbrella, for example.
Of course.
So that you prepare yourself against the rain. So it's basically preparing yourself against the things you can't control and accepting them and doing what you can't control. Now let's say, for example, you have a car. You have only a car. That's what you could afford. And then you want to fly. The car can't fly.
Certainly.
So what if I can't let go of the things that led to me being here in the first place? For example, I'm an overly sensitive person. Things affect me a lot more than they should. And I know it consciously, knowing that this thing is not supposed to make me this angry or this upset, but it does make me feel that way. What does that mean?
So instead of asking, what if I can't control or I can't let go of the question you're asking, why don't you think of the what if in a positive way? What if I can't do it? What if there's a possibility that this thing that I've struggled with as a child for so many years, struggled so much, internalized it, the state of, everything going on in my head here. What if you give yourself the chance to think that, hey, what if, Sebastian, I can't do it this time? What if I can let go? What if I can unlearn and learn new things? What if I can learn to be, how do I say it, be a little bit less hard on myself, yes, and look at it from a different outlook. You understand it? So the what if is always a big concern, and you are definitely right. There are so many things we can't control.
Is it possible that one could never like truly recover?
Oh, I wouldn't say is it possible that you can never say it until you have tried it. So once you are in the process, let's not look at it as is it possible that one could, because if you don't let go of this current mind, I wouldn't say let go, but if you don't gradually build yourself to the place where you can begin to forgive all of it and begin to tell yourself that you can do it, you might not be triggered into going back into drug addiction or substance addiction, but something else will take the seat of the thoughts. You might not go back into the drugs, but you box yourself and not allow yourself to enjoy the totality of your life. I believe you're very young. You understand it. And
Relatively.
yes, so you're a creative person. There's a world of creativity out there you can express, and as artists, you express yourselves through your work that you put out there. So whilst we're on this journey, 2 months is still a very short time. Recovery does take, the physical aspect of the addiction is there, but the emotional, the underlying causes, I believe, is something that will gradually work through to the place where you can tell yourself that, hey, Sebastian, a year ago, this was my pattern of thought. Gradually, I've learned to forgive myself. Gradually, I've learned to look at life from a different point of view. So instead of thinking of what if I relapse, what if I can't control this, what if it never gets better, let's look at what if it gets better. What if I can be the person that I want to be? What if I can be the person that I can be proud of? What if, hey, I can live to enjoy my life without boxing myself into the situation that I'm thinking of in my mind? Do you understand it? So it's a long process. You might not, as I'm talking to you right now, you might not even be ready to deal with it in your mind for that angle. But give it a thought. You understand it. Give it a thought.
It makes sense to some extent, and I understand the what ifs you are talking about. What if I've tried?
So try again.
Okay. So that's a lot of trying, by the way. But I understand, and I would like to refer to this idea. So this all started from losing someone, losing something important to me. Now I've considered the idea that what if gaining someone, does that sort of remedy it?
What if gaining? You mean are we talking about your dad?
No, obviously he can't come back.
Okay.
So now I'm saying I lost him, and then that created a hole, kind of like a space in my heart. Now I've considered the idea that maybe gaining something else or someone else would fill that.
So when you think about the idea that, okay, someone else or something else will feel that, how does that make you feel? Is it a possibility?
It makes me feel sort of hopeful. But then it's like I'm also in a way afraid that I might just be dragging somebody into my hole. I don't know if you understand.
Yes.
So so it's caused a lot of like hindrance to me, like emotionally, when it comes to building relationships with people, because I feel like everybody I include in my life is just another person who has to worry about me.
Okay. So you have to come to a place where you feel the self-sufficiency in yourself, where you don't feel like, okay, somebody needs to come in to fill that void for you to be able to overcome it. You need to get to the place where you in yourself, you are okay in your recovery process. Like you trust that, okay, on my own, with or because in this world the truth is that nobody can really make us happy or feel any void in us, whether the person is alive, passed, around us, whether it's an I'm married. My husband cannot fill a void. He plays a vital part in my life, but he can't fill a void in my life. I need to be complete. I need to appreciate myself. I need to love myself. I need to feel that self-sufficiency. Otherwise, when my husband is not there, I won't function. Or if my children are not there, or if my phone is not there, if let's say this is what is filling my life, my phone is not there, I'll feel insufficient. Or let me go and get another phone. Maybe that would help. I need to feel complete in myself, that I am complete on my own. I am worth it on my own. I'm valuable on my own. I don't need to bring like have relationships and have people worry or feel like when somebody comes into my life, the person is coming and the person has to just be a worry. So I will work on myself to bring myself to the place where when in relationships, that fear is not there and we can enjoy. Otherwise, you rob yourself of the joys in that relationship.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm not saying that I'm worried about the people. I'm saying that they probably would be worrying about me, and then that feels like a responsibility I'm throwing on them that is naturally unfair. Now, question, your husband makes you happy, right?
To some extent.
To some extent. Now, would you say that without your husband, you were less happy?
Oh, no, not at all.
You were happy,
yes,
but less than you are now.
Yes.
Now, in order for somebody to say, let's say you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, obviously it must have meant a lot and then must have been important that that person be included in your life. Now, doesn't that in a way mean that they complete you in a certain manner?
So it's a partnership. Do you understand it? Yes. If I don't feel sufficient in myself, or I feel like, okay, my actions are going to cause certain effects in the relationship, it's an area I have to admit to myself and work on it. And I believe you know where you are. You know exactly what the underlying issues are. So I can't go into the relationship thinking that, okay, this person, if I see that my actions are going to cause problems or cause a certain kind of gap in the relationship that we have, I have to work on myself to work it out. You understand it? So give yourself the chance to be positive about the experience you are having, the growth you are having. I'm sure you might have tried it so many times, but we try and try and try and try and try again. And life in itself is the greatest gift that we can have. So once we are alive, there is nothing like, what if this thing, it never works out? What if this thing, I never overcome it? It's always a positive outlook.
Say no to drugs. Yes to life.